Waves. I am water, wave, and ocean. My mind, the tide, ebbs and flows, rises and falls, fights and fails. It's misery and bliss. Waves crash against the rocks, waves spread gently ashore. They push, they pull. The rush against the clock follows the collapse on the floor. I push, I pull. The water in the ocean, the blood in my veins pulse together in sync. Every beat creates a wave. Welcome to the Memento Mori Lab Podcast. I'm Myra, your host and aspiring creative friend. Everything comes and goes. Nothing is static, nor continuous, nor forever. Life is nothing but ups and downs. We crave stability, but not too much of it, otherwise we get bored. We crave certainty, but not too much of it, otherwise we look for the next thing. We cannot live a monotone life, and at the same time, all these emotional, psychological, and physical ups and downs drive us mad. But here's a thought. The opposite of ups and downs is flatline. That's definitely something we should not strive for. Our hope usually is just to have ups, right? But how would that work exactly? If it keeps going up, how would we know we are in one of the ups? We probably wouldn't. But then comes a down and we go, oh, it was nice when X was happening instead of Y. Remember when we didn't need to wear masks and worry about these other people not wearing a mask properly? Good times. We usually take the up moments for granted. Getting used to good things is much easier than getting used to bad ones, right? So when we are on a, let's say, lucky streak, we get happy for a second and then we get used to it. But imagine a line chart of your life with all your ups and downs. We've been led to believe that straight lines are a thing. I don't think those exist. Bear with me here. If each day was a dot on a scale of happiness, or whatever you want to measure your life, if the measure was detailed enough, I think one day would never be the same as the next one. When I say ups and downs, peaks and valleys, it's literally ups and downs every day, all day long, even if the change is ever so slight. When it feels like every day is the same, maybe it is just because we always adapt to the situation. If you are on one of the peaks, you could be going slowly up without realizing it, or down. And the same goes for the other way around, don't you think? When grieving, we never feel the same amount of sadness every day. When we are excited, we are never equally excited throughout the day. It all comes in waves. So let's go to a poem. Something changed. The weight of silent ears was lifted. Words made room for life and air. At first it was too dense, too thick, too much. Between the bad and good days I stumbled through. I thought every breath would hold back tears, a never-ending tide of grief, wrinkled emotions. Now most awaken forgotten promises and lessons. Eternal always ends. Nothing is forever. Waves spread seaweeds and shells ashore. The salty water drowns the breath in sorrow, resting the past and the pain on damp sand. It seems to last forever, until seamlessly the current pulls back. as if it never came, taking some shells and pain away. The ones left behind become trophies and treasures. Moments reimagined. Not even memory lasts forever. The down moments seem to last forever, like in the poem. And I think many of the valleys we experience are there to show us something that is bothering us, They show us that something isn't right. More often than not, we adapt to them instead of making changes or digging deeper. It's easier to adapt. And the changes are rarely drastic, I am trying to feel more comfortable with these ups and downs instead of fighting so much to stay on a delusional upward stream. Whether we like it or not, life is a constant tide. But unlike the ocean, life comes to an end. The ocean has an end, I guess, but you get the idea. Now, I know I sound like a self-help audiobook or a random TED Talk you clicked by accident on YouTube. But as soon as we realize that the ups and downs are inevitable, the sooner life becomes lighter in a sense. I chose this topic because I feel like the same thing happens to creativity. We are all creative beings. Some are more in tune with it than others. Some feel like they need to ask for some kind of permission to draw badly, write crappy stuff, and paint like a child. That's how I felt for many years until I started giving myself permission. Artists or not, we are all creative, but not every day is the same. Creativity ebbs and flows. If you're trying to live a creative life, I'm sure you felt like some days your creations and your ideas just poured out of you. The pen just runs across the page trying to catch up with your mind. Those are the best days. I feel amazing regardless of how good or bad the outcome actually is. Let's not go there, by the way. But then on other days, the pen stands still on the notebook, creating nothing but an ink blot. On some days, I have ideas for 10 different illustrations, products I want to one day create, things I want to write, and so much more that I beg the day to give me some extra hours. On those days, I get mad at myself for feeling tired or wanting to sleep or feeling hungry or any other human setback. Mainly because I know that it won't last forever. I feel like I have to squeeze every last drop of that lemon. I have yet to truly learn to sit on my desk and work on the days that creativity doesn't flow that well. From what I've read and heard, most professional writers, artists, and creatives in general do their work regardless of the ebbs and flows. If I have a hard deadline, I will deliver something, but in my case, most of the stuff I do has no real deadline. No one else is waiting for me to deliver it, Being accountable to no one but ourselves is tough. Sometimes I manage to get things done, but honestly, if it's a really down day, I often can't find the will to even hold the pen. So I take the opportunity to feel even worse about myself instead of being kind like I would be to any other person. I'm now starting to accept that creativity is not a constant stream, nor does it dry up forever. It's a fucking ocean. Sometimes, depending on the moon or whatever, the tide changes and things might not flow as they did yesterday. At the beginning of the year in January, I was super determined to tap into my creativity more and be productive. I would wake up earlier than usual to write for an hour, then go to my job, study during lunch, and then at night I would try and write a bit more. At the end of the month, I had written a screenplay for a musical and I felt ecstatic. Not because it's any good, because it's not. And not because it will become anything, because it won't. But because I had been in this flow of creativity for a month and it felt amazing. Then, as you might have predicted, January went away, and with it, it took all my power to create, my willpower. February was a downward spiral of nothingness. I was so angry with myself because I could see the stark contrasts between the up and the down. And I tried to do something about it, but nothing stuck. And this exact same thing has happened a few times this year. But the more I accept it for what it is, the easier it all becomes. When the tide begins to ebb, I can deal with it differently. And I see that I can learn to work despite it. It won't be as pleasing, but something will get done. So let's go to another poem. Mountain. I stood on top of the mountain, catching my breath. I made it, was my first thought. Naive, I thought this peak would let me hop on to the next, without ever coming down. Then I saw the distance between the mountains left to climb, and all the valleys outface in between. The world tricked me. I thought linear was a thing, linear progress and linear narratives. Now I see that life comes in crooked lines. We are ups and downs, ebbs and flows. Our path is not a single straight line in a chart. All our narratives are lost in perception, written lines of fiction and surprising twists we knew were coming all along. Lost, looking for linear lines, I saw starker dips and unstable peaks. No joy to be found in any step of the way. What seems to be most important when dealing with the ebbs and flows is not to become desperate, which ironically is also crucial if you're drowning in the ocean. I almost drowned once, and controlling my emotional or maybe psychological response saved me. Cue in the 90s documentary here. I wanted to talk about these waves because I wonder how we can stay motivated to create our art while staying afloat. I think about that a lot because I've always started things and given up after a short while. One day I might list all the extracurricular activities and courses I've taken in life. It will probably be my longest episode. Some highlights would be boxing, piano, drums, and tennis, I think. Anyway, the next episode will be about these brief obsessions. So subscribe if you want to be notified of that one. So back to the topic. I think that part of what motivates us to keep showing up every day is to see progress. If we see some progress, we are more willing to keep going. Otherwise, it seems like we're doing things for nothing and we are wasting our time. It feels like we're swimming against the current and moving nowhere. If we're writing a novel, we want to see that the story is inching forward. When we paint, we want to know that we're getting closer to what we envisioned. You get the idea. Or maybe the progress is within the artist. That's a valid progression too. So something that was complex becomes simpler. Something that took you weeks then takes days. It's progress and it feels good. When I was trying to write that script, which I have no expertise in whatsoever, I could see my progress. I think that motivated me to keep going regardless of the actual results. But here's the catch. Like the life chart of ups and downs, we think that progress should be linear and should only go up. We want to go up, 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 up. And that's just unrealistic. If there was such a thing as a record of great artists' progress charts and we could zoom in close enough, we would see a bunch of peaks and valleys. We study something, try it, and it works. The line goes up a notch. Then we try something different and fail. the line goes down a bit. Then we learn from that failure and make some adjustments, and the line goes up again. We can only see it, like zooming in really close, because the great artist, it might look like it only went up. So you have to zoom in. But if we don't realize that progress isn't linear, whenever the line goes down a bit, we might feel like a complete failure, and any one of those moments can become the one moment that we walked away because we feel like we are regressing. And when we are zoomed in too close, it really feels like regressing. Does that make sense? Then if you zoom out a little, you see, oh, okay, it went down a little, but it's still higher than it was a month ago or whatever. Does that make sense? When we zoom out and look at our entire progress chart and the overall line is going upwards, that's when we get motivated to keep going. These micro failures just add to our ability to improve and progress faster. The thing is, seeing progress is motivating. Not seeing it is dreadful. Maybe to stay strong in these unpredictable tides, we need to focus on our overall progress. It will make it easier to deal with the ebbs and flows of creativity. And I think I've said this before, but we need to remember that everyone's path is different, even though society tries to shove everyone into one tiny box. Speaking of paths, I have one more poem before we end this episode. Pace. The tree grows at its own pace, patiently savoring seasons day after day. It's not all regular, uniform, and in one go. I see the one right outside my window. It stands still all winter, frozen but alive, until the ice melts and spring arrives. The leaves grow in all directions, searching for their ray of sunshine between the droplets of rain. Some days are nothing but storms. The heat grows stronger, the trunk follows, it branches out, taking up more space. Taller than ever, feeling like forever, full of leaves, life, and hope. Then, fall fades the greens to yellows. A few oranges and reds shine through the sorrow of no longer feeling tall. It knows that winter is next. So many metaphors today. So how do you deal with the tide of creativity and life's ups and downs? As always, hit me up on Instagram at memento.mori.lab and let's chat. If you liked this episode, please share it with your friends. It will mean the world to me. It really helps out to let more people know about the podcast. And thank you for hanging around till the end. See ya.